We all want to feel confident. We want to walk into a room and feel unshakable. We want to chase our goals without second-guessing ourselves. But here's the truth no one talks about. Confidence isn't a gift. It's not given to you. It's something you earn by keeping the promises you make to yourself. Think about it. We all know how important it is to be reliable, to keep our word, but why is it that we show up for others yet constantly break the promises we make to ourselves? We say, I'm going to wake up early tomorrow, I'm going to eat better, I'm going to finish that project, and then we hit snooze. We delay, we make excuses, and every time we do that, it's not just a broken plan, it's a broken piece of trust. And when we can't trust ourselves, how can we ever feel confident? Real confidence doesn't come from the applause. It doesn't come from followers, likes, praise, or promotions. It comes from integrity, not the kind we show to the world, but the kind we keep behind closed doors. It comes from discipline. It comes from doing what you said you'd do, especially when it's hard, especially when no one's watching, because the truth is, your word to yourself should be sacred. It should carry more weight than any commitment you make to someone else. We talk a lot about trust in our relationships, in business, in leadership. We talk about how important it is to be reliable, to show up for others, to follow through on our promises. But rarely do we talk about the most important kind of trust, the trust we have in ourselves. Before we ever ask the world to believe in us, we must ask ourselves a simple question. Do I believe in me? Because real confidence, real presence, real leadership, they don't start with external validation. They start with internal consistency. And the only way to build that inner trust is by doing exactly what we say we're going to do, not just when others are watching, especially when they're not. The real test of character is not what we do in public, it's what we do in private. It's in those small, quiet moments, waking up when the alarm goes off, sticking to your goals even when motivation fades, choosing discipline over comfort. That trust is either built or broken. Think about it. Every time you say, I'm going to do this, and then you don't. Something happens. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, but inside your mind records it, it notices. And over time, those broken promises chip away at your self-belief. You stop trusting yourself. You stop believing your own words. And when that happens, how can you expect others to believe in you? How can you carry confidence into a room, a conversation, a challenge, when deep down, you don't believe you'll follow through? On the flip side, when you start keeping even the smallest promises to yourself, everything begins to shift. You begin to walk differently, speak differently, decide differently, because you know something the world doesn't. You're someone who follows through. You're someone who shows up, not for the applause, but because it's who you are. That's how self-trust is built. And that's the real foundation of confidence. Not loud, not flashy, not needing to prove anything. It's calm, it's quiet, it's earned. You no longer need to be told you're good enough. You know you are because you've shown yourself the proof. You start to believe in your own potential, not because someone told you you're special, but because your actions are finally in alignment with your words. You begin to realize that you don't need motivation, you need integrity. And integrity isn't about being perfect, it's about being consistent. It's about deciding that your word, especially to yourself, is non-negotiable. Because if your word means nothing to you, it will eventually mean nothing to anyone else. But if your word means everything to you, if you take your own promises seriously, the world will begin to respond to you in a different way. People will feel your confidence before you even speak, not because you said all the right things, but because you live in alignment. So if you want to build real confidence, if you want to lead, to inspire, to grow, stop chasing validation from the outside. Start earning trust from the inside. Start with the next small promise. Keep it. Then keep the next one. Stack those wins. Build that belief. Because when you trust yourself, you don't just walk into the room, you own it. That's how greatness begins. Discipline is often misunderstood. People think it's about restriction, about saying no, about living a life without fun or freedom. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Discipline isn't punishment, it's power. It's the daily decision to choose what you want most over what you want right now. And it's in that choice, again and again, that self-respect begins to grow. We all want to feel proud of who we are. We want to walk through life with our head held high, knowing we're living with purpose. But self-respect doesn't come from how others see us, it comes from how we see ourselves. And nothing shapes that view more than the habits we keep, the choices we make, and the standards we set even when no one's looking. Discipline is the quiet force behind every person you admire. Not talent, not luck. Discipline. The ability to show up even when it's hard, to follow through when no one would blame you for quitting, to say I will and then mean it not just once but repeatedly. That consistency creates results. But more than that, it creates identity. When you stay disciplined, you're sending a message to yourself. I matter. My goals matter. My future matters. You stop living reactively and start living intentionally. And when you live with intention, you stop seeking permission. You stop waiting for approval. You stop needing someone else to validate your worth. Because you already feel it. Self-respect isn't built in a single moment. It's not a switch that flips. It's built in the early mornings when you get up even though you don't feel like it. It's built in the moments you say no to distraction so you can stay focused on what matters. It's built when you keep pushing through setbacks, not because it's easy, but because you gave your word and your word means something to you. There's a confidence that comes from being disciplined, a quiet, grounded confidence that isn't loud or boastful, it's just real. It's not about ego, it's about knowing deep down that you're living in alignment with your values. You're doing what needs to be done, not for applause, not for recognition, but because you respect yourself enough to do it. Most people wait until they feel motivated to take action. But the truth is, discipline creates motivation, not the other way around. The more you act in alignment with your goals, the more momentum you build, and that momentum becomes belief, that belief becomes pride, that pride becomes self-respect. And here's the thing, self-respect changes how you treat yourself. It changes the kind of people you tolerate in your life. It changes the boundaries you set. It changes how you speak to yourself when no one's around. Because when you respect yourself, you won't allow yourself to be treated like anything less than what you've earned. It all starts with discipline. Not the kind that's forced or harsh, but the kind that's rooted in love. Love for your potential, love for the person you're becoming. Discipline isn't about being perfect. It's about being committed. It's about saying, I'm not going to break my own heart by breaking my own promises. So when you wake up tomorrow, don't ask yourself what you feel like doing. Ask yourself who you want to become. Then act accordingly. Let discipline lead the way, because with it, you won't just build better habits. You'll build a deeper relationship with yourself, and that's where true self-respect is born. How often do we break promises to ourselves? We set goals. We say we'll wake up early. We vow to start that project, get healthier, be more present. And then when the time comes, we let those promises slide. We cancel on ourselves in favor of comfort, distractions, or things that feel easier in the moment. But here's the truth we often overlook. Your word to yourself must matter more than anyone else's. If you want to build lasting confidence, you have to start by treating your commitments to yourself with the same weight you place on promises made to others. Because here's the hard truth. If you can't trust your own word, how can you expect anyone else to? When we break promises to ourselves, something inside us shifts. It's subtle at first, a small sense of disappointment that we can brush off. But over time, those small betrayals add up. Each time you tell yourself you'll do something and don't, you slowly erode the trust you have in yourself. And without self-trust, there is no true confidence. You see, confidence isn't about pretending to be something you're not. It's not about giving a polished performance or pretending you've got it all together. It's about honesty. It's about knowing deep inside that you will follow through on what you say. And when you break promises to yourself, you not only hurt your self-trust, you weaken your confidence. Consider how it feels when someone else breaks a promise to you. It creates a crack in the relationship. Maybe it's not immediately noticeable, but over time, that crack deepens. You begin to question whether they can really be relied upon. The same thing happens when you break your promises to yourself. Each unfulfilled commitment creates a gap in your self-relationship. And the more you ignore it, the harder it becomes to trust your own words. Imagine this. If every time you said you would do something, you actually did it, how would that change how you see yourself? What if you could say, I will, and know with certainty that you would follow through? That feeling of inner alignment, where your actions and your words are in sync, is the foundation of real self-respect. And self-respect is where true confidence begins. Think about the people you respect most. They're not necessarily the ones who make the most promises or the loudest statements. They're the ones whose actions consistently match their words. You trust them because you know they will show up, not just when it's easy, but especially when it's hard. And that the key to understanding the power of your word. Your word is your bond, and when you keep it, you build something invaluable, a solid relationship with yourself. So the next time you make a commitment, whether it's to get up at a certain time, to complete a task, or to make a positive change, ask yourself this: how much do I value my word? Your word is more than just a promise. It's a reflection of your integrity, your discipline, and your respect for your own future. Don't let your word become a casual thing. Don't let it be something you give away without thought or something you neglect when the going gets tough. Treat your word as sacred. If you say you'll do something, do it, even when it's inconvenient, even when it feels hard, because every time you fulfill your promises to yourself, you strengthen the bond you have with yourself. You reinforce your belief in your own abilities, and that belief becomes the foundation of your confidence. Your word to yourself is the most powerful tool you have. It's the starting point for everything you want to achieve in life. When your word matters to you, when you keep promises to yourself, big or small, you start to build a life that is in alignment with who you truly want to be. And that alignment creates the kind of confidence that doesn't need external validation. You won't need to prove anything to anyone because you already know that you are exactly who you say you are. We all want big wins, the kind of victories that are loud, undeniable, and instant, the kind of results that get attention and recognition. But here's the secret to true lasting success. It's not the big wins that transform your life. It's the small wins, the quiet, consistent actions that over time add up to something far greater. Think about it. We often overestimate what we can do in a short period and underestimate what we can accomplish in the long run. It's easy to look at the grand vision of success and get overwhelmed, to think that if we're not achieving massive breakthroughs every day, we're not making progress. But real progress isn't about instant results, it's about momentum. And momentum is built one small win at a time. Small wins are the building blocks of confidence. Every time you set a goal, no matter how small, and achieve it, you prove to yourself that you can follow through, that you can push through the resistance, the distractions, and the obstacles in your way. Each time you check off a task, no matter how seemingly insignificant, you create a sense of accomplishment. And that feeling over time compounds. It becomes the foundation of something bigger. Think about a snowball rolling down a hill. At first it's small, almost insignificant. But as it continues to roll, it picks up more snow, gains speed, and grows bigger and bigger. And that's what small wins do for you. Each time you win, even if it's just a tiny victory, you pick up momentum. You build belief in yourself. You build trust in your ability to achieve. And before you know it, those small wins add up to massive shifts. It's in those small wins that your identity begins to shift. You start seeing yourself as someone who follows through. Someone who gets things done, someone who doesn't just talk about their goals, but actively works towards them. And as your identity shifts, so does your behavior. You start to expect success, not because it comes easy, but because you've built the habits, the mindset, and the discipline that make it inevitable. This is why consistency is key. It's not about the occasional breakthrough. It's about showing up every day, doing the work, and trusting that the results will come, even if they don't come immediately. The truth is, success doesn't happen overnight. It's the sum of thousands of small decisions made over time. It's the result of constantly choosing to show up even when it feels like nothing is changing. Small wins also create a ripple effect. When you start winning, even in the smallest of ways, it builds your confidence and your energy. You begin to see that you're capable of achieving the things you set your mind to. And this mindset shift propels you forward. One small win turns into another, and before long, you're tackling bigger and bigger challenges. The more you win, the more you believe in your ability to take on bigger wins, and eventually what once seemed impossible starts to feel possible. The beauty of small wins is that they're accessible. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment to start. You don't need to have all the resources, all the answers, or all the time in the world. You just need to make the decision to take the first step. Whether it's waking up 10 minutes earlier, writing one paragraph of that book, doing one extra rep at the gym, or taking 5 minutes to plan your day, every small step you take is a win. And every win, no matter how small, is a step toward massive change. So don't get discouraged if the progress doesn't feel big or fast. Understand that real transformation happens slowly and steadily. Every small win adds up. Every win builds your confidence. Every win builds your belief in what's possible. And when you look back, you'll realize that those small, seemingly insignificant victories were the catalyst for massive life-changing shit. Authentic confidence is not about pretending to be someone you're not. It's not about putting on a mask or faking it until you make it. True confidence comes from alignment, from living in a way that is congruent with who you truly are, what you truly believe, and what you truly value. When your actions match your words and your intentions, your confidence becomes real. It's grounded, solid, and undeniable. It's not a facade. It's a reflection of the person you've become through your own choices and actions. Essilation is the key to confidence because it eliminates the internal conflict that many people experience. When we're out of alignment, when we're not living in accordance with our values, there's a dissonance within us. This dissonance creates doubt, insecurity, and anxiety. We may look confident on the outside, but inside we feel uneasy, unsettled, and uncertain. This is the result of not being true to ourselves, of living a life that doesn't match the person we know ourselves to be. But when we live in alignment with our values, our actions, and our goals, that dissonance disappears. We stop questioning ourselves. We stop doubting whether we're on the right path. Instead, we begin to feel a sense of ease, a sense of peace, and a sense of self-assurance. We are no longer trying to prove something to others or to ourselves. We simply are who we say we are, and that is the essence of authentic confidence. Think about the people you trust the most. They're not the ones who talk the loudest or make the biggest promises. They're the ones who are consistent. The ones who do what they say they will do. They don't need to boast or show off because their integrity is undeniable. Their actions are in perfect alignment with their words. They walk the talk. And when you see that in someone, it naturally breeds respect and trust. The same is true for you. When your actions align with your words, you build not just your confidence, but your reputation as someone who is reliable, grounded, and true to their word. Alignment is not just about keeping promises to others. It's about keeping promises to yourself. It's about saying, this is who I am, this is what I believe, this is where I'm headed, and then acting accordingly. It's about setting goals and values that resonate deeply with you and pursuing them with integrity. It's about making choices that honor who you are at the core, not who you think you should be or who others expect you to be. When your life is in alignment, it's not that challenges and setbacks disappear. They don't. But the difference is that when you're aligned, you know you're on the right path, and that makes the obstacles feel more like stepping stones. You trust that even when things get difficult, you're moving in the right direction. There's no internal struggle because you're not constantly questioning yourself or second-guessing your choices. You've built a life based on your values and your truth, and that alignment is your anchor when the storms of life hit. The beauty of alignment is that it creates a quiet, unshakable confidence. It doesn't rely on external validation. You don't need the applause or recognition because you already know you're on the right path. When you align your actions with your values, you stop needing anyone else to tell you that you're doing well. You feel it deep inside. You become your own source of validation, and that creates the kind of confidence that cannot be easily swayed. Authentic confidence comes from this deep alignment, from knowing who you are, being true to yourself, and living in a way that reflects that truth. It's not about perfection, it's about authenticity. It's about showing up as the real you, not the version of yourself you think others want to see. When you do that, your confidence shines through naturally and effortlessly. You become someone who not only believes in their own potential, but who also inspires others to do the same. We live in a world that thrives on external validation. From the number of likes on a social media post to the praise from colleagues and superiors, it's easy to fall into the trap of seeking approval from others. We often measure our worth based on how others perceive us, how they react to our achievements, and how much recognition we get. But here's the truth we need to realize. External validation is temporary, while internal validation is the only true freedom we can ever experience. External validation is fleeting, it's momentary. And it's often tied to the opinions of others, which are constantly changing. One day you might feel on top of the world because you receive compliments or recognition for your work, but the next day, when the praise fades or when criticism replaces compliments, you can feel deflated, uncertain, and lost. This roller coaster ride of highs and lows is not just exhausting, it's also unreliable. External validation doesn't have the power to sustain your sense of worth or your confidence. On the other hand, internal validation comes from within. It's the deep, unshakable knowing that you are enough just as you are, independent of the opinions or approval of others. Internal validation doesn't depend on how many followers you have or how many people applaud your work. It comes from a place of self-awareness, self-acceptance, and self-respect. It's rooted in the recognition that your worth is not contingent upon external circumstances, but instead, it's inherent. When you rely on external validation, you are giving others the power to determine your worth. You're putting your sense of identity and value in their hands. Because no matter how much we might want or seek approval, we cannot control how others perceive us. Their opinions are based on their own experiences, biases, and limited perspectives. When you live for external validation, you're essentially allowing others to write the story of your life, and that's not the kind of freedom that leads to fulfillment. Higher validation, however, is something that's within your control. It's about finding peace and acceptance within yourself, regardless of what's happening around you. It's about acknowledging your own worth without waiting for someone else to confirm it. It's about setting your own standards and values and living in alignment with them, even if no one else notices or appreciates it. The beauty of internal validation is that it's permanent. It doesn't fluctuate with the approval or disapproval of others. When you validate yourself, you stand firm in your own truth. You know your strengths and your weaknesses, and you embrace both without needing anyone else's approval. When you make decisions, you do so from a place of clarity and confidence, not from a place of seeking acceptance. This kind of self-analysis is liberating because it frees you from the need to prove yourself to others. And the most powerful part about internal validation is that it brings freedom. When you no longer seek external validation, you begin to live your life on your own terms. You stop being afraid of judgment or criticism because you know who you are and you trust your own voice above all others. You stop comparing yourself to others and instead focus on your own growth and journey. You start to realize that your worth is not based on what others think of you, but on the fact that you are enough just as you are. When you rely on internal validation, your confidence becomes unshakable. You no longer need others to affirm your value because you have already done that for yourself. This inner peace and self-assurance give you the strength to pursue your goals, speak your truth, and live authentically without the weight of others' expectations holding you back.